My name is Eliana Reed.
I'm 34 years old. And 3 days before the Harvest Festival, what most people call Thanksgiving, I got a text that split my heart in two. Don't bother coming this year.
You're not welcome anymore.
That was it. No greeting, no explanation, just finality. Sent from my mother's phone like she was canceling a dinner reservation and not severing the last fraying thread of family I had left.
Started at the screen silence, sitting behind the oak desk in my private office.
Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the soft glow of the late afternoon sun spilling over the coast. Below, guests wandered along palm-lined walkways, children laughed by the saltwater pool, and the scent of ocean air mixed with blooming hibiscus. The place looked like a magazine cover. My retreat.
My creation. Heaven Bay.
Of course, my family didn't know that. To them, Haven Bay Retreat was just a luxurious tradition. A place they'd been visiting for nearly 2 decades, claiming the same villas every November like clockwork. It was theirs, in their minds, anyway. A sanctuary of elegance and prestige, where they could sip vintage wine, flaunt their curated lives, and pretend generosity came from a gala invitation and a tax deduction. But to me, Haven Bay was something else entirely. It was escape. It was reinvention. It was my beginning. And now, irony wrapped itself around my chest like a vice. They had no idea that the very place they were retreating to, their so-called special place, belonged to the daughter they had just uninvited from their lives. I didn't cry. Not right away. Instead, I did what I've always done. I stared at the horizon, breathed slowly, and reminded myself that I had built something. That I was something. Then, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was my sister, Lila. A photo. Everyone gathered in the living room back home, laughing, drinks in hand. Beneath the picture, the caption read, "Packing for Haven Bay. Can't wait to be surrounded by real success again." That was the moment I felt something shift. Not just hurt, no, I was used to that. It was something colder, clearer, like a line being drawn. I leaned back in my chair, watching the golden light paint the resort below, and for the first time in years, I whispered the words I never thought I'd say. They don't deserve this place.
I still remember the last Harvest Festival.
Not because of the food or the polished silverware. Not because of the way the autumn wreaths were arranged along the gates like we lived in a lifestyle catalog. No, it was the moment everything shattered. The last time I sat at that long, gleaming table as their daughter. I had brought a proposal. Naive of me, really. I'd spent months working on it, a detailed plan to redirect a portion of the Reed Family Trust toward transitional housing programs, trauma-informed rehab centers, and education grants for under-resourced communities. A modest shift, less than 10% of the annual endowment. It would barely touch their lifestyles. But when I slid the folder across the table, the room went still. Like I'd dropped a grenade. My father, Gregory Reed, patriarch, wine connoisseur, and board member of half the city's art institutions, picked up the document as though it smelled bad. "Is this a joke?" he asked, voice tight. "You want to use our name, our money, on this?" I looked him straight in the eye. "Yes. People are sleeping in cars 5 blocks from our downtown office. We have the resources to do something about it." He scoffed. "This family supports real causes. Museums.
Music halls. Not street charity." Then came my mother, Serena. Impeccable posture.
Ice in her tone. "You sound just like Celeste," she said with a sniff, not even hiding the disdain. That name, the family ghost.
Aunt Celeste. My fater sister.
She'd been cut off 2 decades ago for walking away from the family fund to start a women's shelter in another state. We weren't allowed to mention her. My siblings and I used to whisper her name like it was a spell from a forbidden book. And yet, here I was, becoming her. My brother Ethan chimed in next, chuckling behind his tumbler of scotch. "You're going to throw money at losers? You don't even have money. You work at a non-profit, remember." And finally Lila, my perfect sister with her perfect smile. "Honestly, Eliana, sometimes I wonder if you were switched at birth."
I said nothing.
I just stared at my plate, listening to them laugh and judge and dismiss everything I had built my life around. They didn't know about the consulting contracts.
The early investments.
The way I'd scraped together everything to buy a majority share in a forgotten seaside resort and turned it into a thriving destination. They didn't know because they never asked. They weren't interested in what I believed, only whether it embarrassed them. So I left. That night.
No shooting.
No drama.
Just a Kia walk to my car and a one-way drive back to Heaven Bay.
It was the last time I saw them in person. Until now. When I left that dinner table last year, I didn't just walk away from a house. I walked away from a legacy I never asked to inherit. And I didn't look back. Most people don't know what silence feels like until it becomes your only company. The kind that follows you into your apartment at night, wraps itself around your shoulders like a cold coat, and whispers, "You're truly on your own now." But silence can be fertile ground, if you know how to listen. The first few months after I cut ties were brutal. Not emotionally, no, I'd already mourned the family I never truly had, but logistically. I was living off what I had saved, stretched thin between freelance consulting gigs and negotiating the final terms for a property most investors didn't even look at twice, a rundown coastal resort called Haven Bay. It wasn't glamorous back then. Paint peeling off the siding, staff turnover so high the reception desk doubled as a revolving door, and the garden, once a lush centerpiece, was choked with weeds and cracked stone. But I saw it. The potential. Not just for a business, but for something better.
I sold my car.
Took out a risky bridge loan. Cashed in stock options from a startup I'd helped on a sustainability audit years ago. It was just enough to gain controlling ownership. Barely. But once the ink dried, I worked like hell.
12-hour days.
Some nights I slept in the manager's office with a space heater and a cheap cot. I interviewed every staff member one-on-one. I listened more than I spoke. I paid attention. We started small. Switched to solar heating. Partnered with local fisheries for fresh seafood. Launched an off-season employment program that brought in people transitioning out of shelters. People who just needed a chance. I didn't publicize it. There were no press releases. No speeches. This place didn't need noise. It needed substance. And over time, Haven Bay changed.
Slowly, then all at once.
The reviews trickled in, word spread, and within a year, we weren't just back in business. We were profitable, sustainable, respected. I'd been told my ideas were a liability, that helping the wrong kind of people would scare away the luxury crowd. But it turns out, integrity isn't bad for business.
It is just bad for ego.
My staff didn't care that I came from the Reeds. Most didn't even know. To them, I was just Eliana, the woman who worked harder than anyone, who remembered their kids' names, who showed up even when the pipes burst or the chef quit mid-shift. And in all that time, my family never once asked where I went. Until now. Now they're coming to my resort. And they still think it belongs to someone else. The morning after their messages, I sat at my desk in silence, staring at the screen where the staff schedule blinked gently at me. It should have been a routine day, check-ins, supply orders, maybe a call with our waste reduction partners in Costa Rica. But the image from last night kept flashing in my mind, my family grinning in front of the fireplace like they hadn't just cast me out. Like they were still the center of the universe. I could have ignored it. I could have let them come, walk through my halls, drink champagne on my balconies, and never once know who built the ground beneath their feet. That would have been easier. But I've done easier before. I did it for years. And all it earned me was silence. I picked up the phone. "Sarah," I said, my voice even. "Can you connect me to the front office at Haven Bay?" There was a pause. "Yes, Ms. Reed. Do you want me to loop in Manager Halston?" "Yes," I replied. Immediately. A moment later, his voice came on the line, warm and professional. "Ms. Reed, what can I do for you?" "The Reed family reservation for this week. I'd like it cancelled. All of it." There was a long pause on the other end. "All of it," he repeated, uncertain. "Yes," I said. "The whole block. The villas, the spa access, the catered meals, everything. Remove their names from the system." "But," he hesitated, "they've been coming here for over 15 years. They have a standing premium contract." "I know," I replied calmly. I wrote that contract. He went quiet. Then, more softly, understood, ma'am. Would you like me to inform them? I looked out the window. The ocean was calm today, flat and endless. A perfect mirror. No, I said. I'll handle it myself. I opened the family group chat. I hadn't sent a message there in nearly a year. But now, my thumb hovered over the keyboard like it was loaded. Then another message popped up. Lila, again. Just packed my silk swimsuits. Can't wait to be somewhere that actually understands success. I smiled. Not bitter. Just ready. I typed slowly, carefully. Actually, Haven Bay just called. Your reservation's been cancelled. The typing dots appeared immediately. What? That's not possible. We've had those villas booked for months. Not anymore, I replied. Then, I put my phone down, turned off notifications, and leaned back. Let the storm come. I wasn't hiding anymore. It didn't take long. Less than 10 minutes after I sent the cancellation message, my phone lit up like it was on fire. First came Lila. You're kidding, right? This is ridiculous. Fix it. Then Ethan chimed in, ever the voice of arrogance thinly disguised as sarcasm. This some kind of weird social experiment, Eliana? Because it's not funny. And finally, my father. Not a message. He never did subtle. A direct call. Twice. Then a text. The manager says the cancellation came from the owner. I demand an explanation. I stared at those words for a long moment. The irony of that sentence, the weight of it, settled over me like a warm, familiar coat I hadn't worn in years. They still thought I was nobody. Just a stubborn idealist with no power, no money, no place at the table. A nuisance, maybe even an embarrassment, but never a threat. They didn't know. They didn't know that while they were mocking my career choices and waving cocktail glasses over shallow conversations, I was building. Quietly. Deliberately. Brick by brick. They didn't know I had used the same strategic thinking they once praised in boardroom meetings to acquire a majority share of a neglected resort, and turned it into a crown jewel of modern hospitality. They didn't know because they never asked. So now, I told them. I opened my father's message and typed. The cancellation came from the owner. That's me. I hit send. And for a moment, there was stillness. Then the flood. Lila, stop lying. Ethan, no way. You don't have that kind of money. My mother finally broke her silence. You work at some nonprofit. What is this stunt supposed to prove? I didn't respond with words. I went to the drawer behind my desk, pulled out the official deed to Haven Bay, snapped a clean photo of the cover page, my name in bold at the top, and sent it. 10 seconds passed. 20. Then came one final message from my father. We need to talk. I looked out the window again, toward the winding coastal path where the sea met the cliffs. This was my view now. My world. And for the first time, it wasn't one I had to justify. I took a breath and typed back. Then let's talk. I'll be in my office tomorrow at noon. And with that, I set the phone down and walked away, not from them, but toward the moment I'd been preparing for all along. They arrived right on time. Noon sharp. For once, they weren't fashionably late. No gran trances. No idle chit-chat about exclusive wine releases or who was sitting on which board this season. Just quiet footsteps echoing down the hallway outside my office. Hesita. Unsure. Like they were walking into a place they no longer recognized.
Sarah buzied me a minute before.
They're here, she said softly. All of them. I stood behind my desk as the door opened. There they were, my father, mother, Ethan, Lila. All four dressed in carefully curated casual wear, as if trying to strike some balance between humility and control. But it didn't work. Not this time. Gone were the smug expressions. De arrogância. What I saw instead was something I'd never witnessed from them before. Fear. Or maybe shame. Maybe both. Please sit, I said, gesturing to the chairs across from me. They did. Slowly. My father remained standing for a moment longer, as if resisting the power shift that was already choking the air. Finally, He lowered himself into the chair, still trying to lead, but smaller now. How? He asked, skipping all pretense. How did you afford this? I looked at him, really looked, and realized he still hadn't understood. He wasn't asking about money. He was asking how I, the daughter he dismissed, the black sheep, the bleeding heart, could have outmaneuvered them. You never asked what I was really doing, I said quietly. You assumed I failed because I wasn't walking your path. Lila crossed her arms, trying to resurrect some version of her former self. So what?
Eu bogo resort em disudem-lhe o finkior better den US. Eliana forward desliguel.
Not better. Just different. I didn't build this to compete with you. I built it because I believed in something more than social clubs and curated image. And clearly, I was right. My mother opened her mouth, then closed it.
The words weren't there.
Or maybe they were, but for the first time, she didn't trust them. I gave them a moment to sit in that silence, to feel what it was like to be on the outside looking in. Then, I said the thing that truly shook them. This place you thought was yours? It's been mine for over a year. Every holiday you've spent here since then, you were walking through something I built with my own hands, while you were pretending I had nothing. The room was still. No one looked me in the eyes. And for once, I didn't need them to. They didn't leave right away. After the meeting, they lingered. Not talking much, just sitting, looking out the windows of my office at the place they thought they knew. Haven Bay stretched before them, its gardens tended by the same people they once passed without noticing, its staff moving with purpose, not servitude. They left eventually, heads low, voices quiet. They didn't try to argue. Not anymore. And the next day, just before sunset, they returned. But this time, it wasn't in black cars with tinted windows. There were no assistants, no rolling luggage carts. Just them. For people dressed plainly, walking slowly up the path like visitors, not owners. I watched from the terrace as they approached the community lawn, where our harvest festival celebration was already in full swing. Tables were laid with home-style food, prepared by our kitchen team and local families. Children ran between strings of paper lanterns. Music drifted from a trio of acoustic guitars. It wasn't opulent. It was honest. And then, something I didn't expect happened. My father stepped forward, picked up a serving spoon, and joined our head chef behind the buffet line. My mother helped an elderly woman find a seat. Lila offered apple cider to a shy little boy.
Endita.
Ethan apologized to one of our program graduates for having misjudged what success really looks like. No cameras.
No audience.
Just them trying. I didn't rush over to hug them. I didn't make a speech. I just let it happen.
Que é além das nintinid spotlight.
Later that evening, as the stars came out over Haven Bay, my father found me near the fire pit. We were wrong, he said simply. I nodded. I know. He hesitated, then asked, after everything, why let us come back? I looked at him, not as the man who dismissed me, but as someone finally learning. Because forgiveness isn't weakness, I said. It's freedom. For me.
For all of us.
His eyes welled, but he didn't cry. Just placed a hand on my shoulder like it weighed more than gold. That night, for the first time in my life, we celebrated as equals. As people.
No legacies. No pride. Just presence.
And every year since, they return, not to reclaim what they lost, but to honor what we've become. Sometimes, forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about releasing the weight of what can't be changed, to make space for what still can.
Inspired by real stories from inside the engineering world.
Subscribe for more engineering stories, lessons, and quiet victories.